For more than 100 years, Church of God World Missions has been engaged in sending the gospel to the nations of the world. God has provided the means and talent to fulfill the Great Commission, to go, to preach, teach and disciple all who will hear and receive. Our global mission maintains 4 core values that remain the bedrock of what Church of God World Missions does. Win the lost, disciple believers, train leaders, and care for the poor, the homeless, and the needy. Christ came to win the lost. He commissioned all disciples to evangelize and witness to the uttermost parts of the earth. This remains our thrust. This is why we target unreached people groups around the world. A recent report from the small country of Uruguay tells us of 23 new churches planted in the last 2 years. Our sister churches in Indonesia have purposed to plant 10,000 churches in the largest Muslim country in the world. In the last 15 years, we have planted 10,075 new congregations and won more than 15 million to Christ. Literature distribution is seed planting at its best. In France, a mother whose son had fallen from a tree and lay dying in a hospital found a tract from the Church of God. It explained God's divine healing plan. The mother called the pastor, who came and prayed for the boy. The boy was healed, and the family came to salvation. Discipling believers remains a mandate of Church of God World Missions. As the Ethiopian eunuch needed someone to explain the Word of God, so do those in whom the seed of the Word has been planted. Maturity, stability, and the Christian walk must be developed in new believers. A young woman who was evangelized in the early days of the fall of the Iron Curtain learned 2 things immediately. God loved her, and He had a plan for her life. However, she says, I didn't know who God was. I went looking. The outcome is she became part of the Baha'i belief because she was evangelized, but not discipled. Every new convert must be discipled. Discipling believers means instilling prayer for the increase of God's kingdom. Psalms 2 tells us, ask God for the heathen as our inheritance. Disciples must also be taught to give. It's through our giving that we're participants in what God is doing. The 3rd core value is training leaders. Leaders are not born, they are developed. Missionary educators who pour their knowledge and wisdom into students are a vital part of God's plan. We have found that within 100 miles of our Bible school is where we have the greatest church growth. Caring for the poor, the homeless, and the needy is the 4th core value. Christ brings hope, and so we shall, as His representatives. The poor, disenfranchised, victims of natural disasters, they must be given sustenance. Shelter, food, clothing, education, it's all part of bringing God's justice to the earth. 174 orphanages, along with Children of the World Ministries, are reaching out to street kids and orphans. Men and women of action go and they build. People for Care and Learning shelter, clothe, teach, and demonstrate love. Medical Mission shares medicine and healing with the sick who have no medical assistance. Missions requires our very best. God gives us talents, but we must develop and train with excellence. Dr. Vance Havner says, it is not our business to make the message acceptable, but to make it available. And we must complete the Great Commission and fulfill our core values with a heart of love.